Welcome to Gems Uncut. I'm Heather.
I'm Molly.
Let's cut it up.
Today's episode is, I know, another fun topic, long-term care. This is the episode that like your 80-year-old self would look back and say, thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Still fabulous,
Yes, of course, you'll be fabulous at 80. But long-term care is the financial planning that is equivalent to like stretching before your workout. Sometimes we don't want to think about it and we just want to get straight to it, but then like when you need it, you need it.
Right. I think looking at some statistics on how much you'll need it or how likely you'll need it is very strong in the conversation of 70-ish% of people end up needing long-term care. Periods of time are all a little different, but
right. I mean, think of 70% of people that are 65 like will need it, and I think about my own family, and 3 out of 4 of my grandparents needed some sort of long-term care help. 75%, that's pretty close to that stat.
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind of
a lot.
Wild. But I think something that, is also just, before we like really get into it is that like, oh gosh, I don't really need to think about it. I got some government benefits and all of that, Medicare or whatever, I'll be fine. And it's like, will you? No, you won't, because they're not going to cover what you think they will.
Yeah.
Very important conversation, whether it's a long-term care policy, long-term care rider that covers those things like home care or a nursing home or having a nurse come to you, this is where we're going to talk about today.
Dang, yeah. And how much does that cost? Like, is it something that my Social Security check can cover for me, or is it more, So just looking at some numbers, we are located in a DFW area. So in the DFW area today is in the range of $70,000 a year for care. Now, of course, there's like more extensive care than some, but this is just an average in the metro area. And in 25 years, that number is more like $1,000 a year. And obviously that just keeps growing because of cost of inflation. But cost of inflation is also very important to consider because most types of care are outpacing the general inflation rate. Yeah. So it's not only very likely that you're going to need it in those later years, but also it's going to take a little bit more to save for something like that. So looking at the avenues of how can we save for this potentially major disruptive cost in our future.
Absolutely. So, I think it's just good to think about it as like, this is the thing that protects you, your assets, and your family from becoming your long-term care. So
absolutely.
Let's cover some myths.
Let's do it.
So I know we kind of talked about it, but I won't need it. Stats disagree. Yes, they do. Also, Medicare will help. That'll pay for it. No,
it won't. So Medicare is mostly for short-term medical expenses, not long-term custodial or daily living support. Medicaid may help, but you've got to
deplete your assets for Medicaid.
Run out of everything. At that point, when you run out of everything, you're going where the government puts you. And I don't know if people have seen where the government can put someone in the care that comes with those places, but I don't want to be there.
Yeah, I don't want to be there either. Another myth. My savings will cover it. My assets will cover it. Insuring is ambitious and a good way to not pass along a legacy because, it's very expensive. There are some people out there that can self-insure because they are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. But if they do want to keep up some sort of standard of care, here's a way for me to not potentially dive into my assets.
Absolutely.
So I can preserve more to pass along to my loved ones.
Yeah. Hedging against dipping into your own assets. If you want to keep that family legacy going, there's always a potential to do that.
Absolutely. If you got $70,000 in care, like it's pretty it's easy to get rid of because that's just care, not necessarily like food or the things that you need like clothes or adult diapers or whatever it is that you might need.
Right. Absolutely. My family will take care of me.
Yeah.
I have a good example for that just because, like, in one of our previous episodes, we talked about disability. And with my mom, has been sick for about 10 years, and this is all happening while before she's in retirement age. So, and she's still going strong. Her standard of living is not great in the sense of, she can't take care of herself. She's 100% disabled. But whenever it comes to long-term care, she wasn't able to contribute to retirement or to any type of savings for the amount of time that she's been disabled. So now getting into the retirement age, it's really turning into long-term care. And so if she wasn't able to save for it, she's not going to have that coverage either.
Right. And I think thinking my family will take care of me, I can speak to taking care of a 3-year-old. I can't speak to taking care of an 80-something-year-old, but it's exhausting to take care of a toddler. So I can only imagine a full-grown adult that, kind of still has maybe some of their cognitive abilities, or maybe not any of their cognitive abilities. But that leads to people burning out and marriage strain, because maybe you don't see eye to eye with your spouse on how to handle certain situations, or it's your parent, you take care of it. Or shoot, I know with my in-laws, they had grandma living with them for a while, and it's you see things that you did not necessarily want to see, and it's do you want, to your son-in-law, daughter-in-law to walk in on you in a moment where you need help, but you're not maybe presentable? Right. I mean, those are things that really, they do happen, and you're going to see things that you don't want to see when it's family. I love my parents, but I know they are we do not want you to be there to take care of us. Right. In that instance.
Think about the caregiver. Think about the selflessness of getting the proper protection built in place, because it not only is exhausting, but it builds up resentment. It builds up depression. Yeah. The person that has to care for you, if they are a loved one, it can take a huge toll on their life.
Yeah. Some of my loved ones that had a caretaker because they had long-term care policies, it's they're godsend angels, and they helped create an environment that was not that stressful for us as a family, coming to visit and being okay, now we got to do this for grandma or grandpa or whatnot. Right. Helped us just go and be able to enjoy the time that we could have.
I mean, people have to sometimes quit their jobs to help if they've got to be there 24/7.
It can be a financial strain.
Absolutely.
And it's could you imagine depending how much older your parents are, it's I don't know, some people have long-term care needs earlier, we've talked about, your mom, or some are later. Something happened and it's you needed to step in. Think of how many more years you have of work, right, theoretically, but then you can't or whatnot. So what are things that get you to being eligible for a long-term care event?
Yes. So there's daily living activities, and depending on what type of coverage you get, you have to not be able to do maybe 2 of the 6 daily living activities, and those are eating, bathing, dressing, toileting, continence, and transferring. So you definitely can't be driving a car, and I would say the best way to think about it is when basic daily life becomes a team sport. You need other hands on deck to be able to get the job done. So, but also dementia and Alzheimer's. Yes. Those are things that qualify as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, and when you have dementia and Alzheimer's, and my grandmother was one of those people, it's you just slowly can't do some of those things, even though you might physically be able to do it. It's just mentally you can't do it. It's very interesting. So just examples, from situations of long-term care, I think personally to my grandparents, I had grandparents that had it, and it helped them preserve the little assets that they have to be able to pass along, because the long-term care policies they had covered everything. Helped even build a little bit because they could preserve their government pensions. But we've seen people that don't have it, and those kids, like you said earlier, have to stop working, and so then they can't continue to save for retirement or whatnot, and it has that financial impact.
Yeah. Lots of reasons, and there's lots of forms of long-term care too. There's standalone policies, which are getting fewer and fewer. You pay into a policy. Sometimes you can get your premium back, but really it's there to use the benefit. So that benefit, if you don't use it, it's kind of a use it. If you don't use it, you lose it situation. And then there's life with long-term care. It's kind of a hybrid, and it is definitely become the most popular type of funding for a long-term care event. Basically, you buy a life insurance policy and you add a long-term care services rider onto it. And if you qualify, you are sent a piece of that death benefit from the life insurance policy every month to be able to take care of those long-term care expenses. If you don't ever use it, or you only use a portion of it, the remaining death benefit that was on that life insurance policy still passes to your beneficiaries tax-free. So it's a wonderful concept. Life insurance companies see it as, hey, we're paying this death benefit out one way or another. We don't care if we need to pay it monthly for your cost of care during a long-term care expense or to your family. It's really, that has been like a blessing in disguise for a lot of people to be able to tag it on to a life insurance policy.
Absolutely. I mean, I think in all reality is that, like, just like all the other insurance episodes that we've talked about with life insurance and disability, is like, it's never going to happen to me, but statistics say otherwise.
Right.
And they're not fun conversations, but they're realistic ones.
For sure.
And if we don't have them, then it can have unfortunate consequences later of I thought I was going to be able to pass along a certain amount, but I'm not. And that's a whole nother, like, stress later down the road.
And when do you start thinking about, like, should I be having a conversation around long-term care? I'm so young. It's always good to bring it up. For example, some people, like myself, they have had experience with it, and it's top of mind. It's like, hey, I have seen firsthand how this can happen. How can I add it to my picture or be thinking about it early on so I'm more prepared for it?
Right.
You're younger and healthier than you'll ever be. Adding something like that onto a life insurance policy is cheap.
It's so cheap.
It is cheap. And it's like, hey, let's get that coverage built in now. Whenever I'm in my 50s and like actually starting to think about it, or 60s or 70s, some people come to us and we're like, ooh, that's going to be really expensive.
Right.
Knowing your options.
I think if you're listening to this and you're older, or you just like don't want to think about it, like, when should you actually start thinking about it? I would say probably starting about 50. Not that you can't think about it sooner or should do it sooner, but like 50, I feel like, is when you really start thinking retirement seems real. Oh man, I'm just a decade away from 60.
Yeah.
Or my kids are starting to get out of my house. My cash flow is freeing up where I have money that I could put aside towards some goal. So It's like you start thinking about it, you start prepping, maybe because you didn't get the life insurance like outside of employment, but like, what a great time to think about it because those benefits don't go with you. But then also, again, I freed up cash flow, so what about the what ifs later down the road when I'm in my 70s, 80s, 90s and I can't take care of myself?
Yeah.
So like, okay, like, it's just a different frame of mind and going, okay, now I can.
Yeah.
It's just like, do you want to? And we can't make you do anything you don't want to, but at the same time, like, it's a good time to start having those realistic conversations with your loved ones.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of information, a lot to think about. Talk to your partner or your loved ones on where you're at and what makes sense, but always talk to a CFP or a financial professional with a fiduciary responsibility that can guide you through your options, and take a look at your big picture. Everything matters. Everything's working together. But at Gems Uncut, what we like to say is give yourself grace, stay consistent, because every gem starts uncut.